In this video, I'm going to introduce an online tool called Workbench. It's at workbenchdata.com. It's free, and Workbench is a really useful tool if you have different kinds of analyses that you need to do with data. And it's especially useful if you need to do similar things over and over again. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about in this video is just why you would use Workbench and the basic logic behind it. There's a lot to this tool, and I'm not going to be able to go over everything that it does, but I want you to understand why you would use it so that if you want to explore it more in the future, you can. So once you log into Workbench, it works with this concept of a workflow, okay? And a workflow is a series of steps that we use when we're looking at or working with data. So if I create a workflow, the first thing it's gonna ask you is, where is the data that I wanna work with, okay? And there's a lot of different options here, but the one we're going to be using, and kind of the most basic one, is I'm gonna upload a data file, okay? This is the main screen of a workflow. And on the left here, we have steps. Okay, and on the right here, we get a preview of the data that we're working with. And so our first step here could be uploading a data file. So I'm going to upload some police data. And once that is loaded, it will show me that data here. Now, the really useful thing about Workbench is that, say I'm working in Excel, okay? And so I've got my data here and I'm gonna start doing stuff to it. I'm gonna make changes to it. I'm going to filter it, sort it, make pivot tables, make visualizations, but that history of what I've done isn't really saved in Excel. So a lot of times we have things that we need to do over and over again, right? So maybe I'm a reporter and every week I'm going to get this same data file. Every month I'm going to get this report from the police, and I just want to check out my beat, understand what's going on. I don't want to have to go into Excel every time and have to remember what I did. Really what I want to do is just repeat those steps. And that's where Workbench is really useful. So let's say we start to make a change. Let's see, so this is police reports to various apartment complexes. And I have the activity that happened, and then the disposition. So let's say that the first thing I want to do is I only want to see the dispositions that result in a report. I want to get rid of these warnings. So I could come here and I could filter this column, and you'll see what it does is it adds a step over here. So I can say if disposition is exactly report, and again, I'm not really trying to teach how to use Workbench here. I'm just showing you why you would use it. So let's say if it's not report, I'm going to delete it. And then I'll play this step, and we're going to go from 7,000 to 2,500 rows, okay? Now, you could do that in Excel, but the nice thing here is I have a record of what I've done. So let's say then we also want to, let's look at burglaries at apartments. So let's also filter here. And we'll say if activity is not or does not contain burglary, we're going to delete it. And now we'll play it. Okay, so now here are our 600 or so burglaries at apartment complexes. And I could even add another step here. So you can also add steps in this column. So here I could group by the property. And then I'm going to count how many rows we have. So I'm counting how many burglaries are at each property, and I'm getting a summary. And then I could sort this largest to smallest. And I might want to do this every couple of weeks as a reporter, just to see what's going on. So the nice thing here is because I have these steps, if in a couple of weeks I get a new CSV file, all I have to do is load my CSV file in, and then I know that I can repeat these steps without having to think about it. This is also really good because it lets me go back, right? If I'm in Excel and I start doing things to my file, I can forget what I've done, right? So I might not know exactly what the status of that file is. Here I have a history of exactly what I've done, and that's really good to be able to like validate your work, or if someone says, hey, what did you do to that file? How did you do that? You can go back and say, oh, okay, now I remember this is exactly what I did. Okay, so at any point you can export the data that's right here using the export tool and download a CSV, put it into Excel, put it into Tableau, create visualizations. So there's lots and lots of things that you can do in Workbench. But the main thing that I want you to remember is that it's a way to keep track of the steps that you've taken in analyzing your data and then be able to repeat them over and over again as your data changes. And that can be really useful as a journalist. It could also be really useful if you have a job with a company and you have repetitive tasks, right? Don't waste your time repeating the same steps over and over again. Automate it and save yourself some time.